It's time.
What is going on in our society today causes a weird feeling. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And ultimately, what happens is we lose our harmony with our own self, our own money, our own path, right? From inflation to tariffs to all the political stuff to you name it, it's getting attacked a lot of times. And as you're listening to this right now, it's around holiday season, right? You're getting that, ooh, good feelings, but come with good feelings come money costs, right? I'm buying gifts. We're having family over. Emotions come from that. And no more important to talk about, your financial harmony specifically in uncertain times than my man, Dr. Cherry Preston. He doesn't need his own intro, right? We're not going to do all that. You can see his bio. He's been on the show before, but I could not think of a better person to talk about this topic specifically in our uncertain times. So welcome back to the show, brother.
Story. Appreciate you, man.
All right, so let's dive into this a little bit. Why is money feel so heavy lately? Why is that feel so heavy on people when all these things are going on in our world?
Well, so I don't like saying like money is a tool. I know that's one of your favorite lines, but it is. It is. I mean, so there's nothing wrong with that. But we exchange so much for money. And when I say we, I'm talking about human beings. And that's why I like giving money some soul, right? So I say money is a partner because we're dancing with it. And it is an exchange. We wake up and we have to exchange toil for it. We're giving a piece of ourselves, for money. It is an exchange, and it is a partner in what we do every day. And so I joke around a lot, but it's not a joke. It touches every piece of what we do. All right. We have to exchange toil, which is work and soul, right? Time, it does buy time, the quality of time that we have, the amount of time that we have with our loved ones. And here's the joke, right? I say, listen, when I'm at the store, all right, and I get to choose how I take care of myself at the restroom. Do I want 1-ply or 2-ply, right? And when you're at the airport, and you're at the restaurant and stuff, they got that 1-ply, and if you got to do that, then yeah, you got to do what you got to do, but I don't got to do that. I want that 2-ply. I want that, and so it does touch everything that we do, right? And so when that gets back to your question, when money is a partner, it touches everything from taking a shower, how that water runs, what's in our refrigerator, what type of gas we get, what type of trips we take, what type of time we spend with family. And so life is an ebb and flow. So when it's doing well, when we're going through triumphant times, everything's good, right? When we're going through those trial times, those challenging times, it helps us get through, right? So that's why money is a partner, and it helps us ebb and flow. And sometimes when things are going, challenging, then we got to use that money to get through. And then when things are going well, hey, we get to have our celebration times. That's why it feels the way it feels.
Define financial harmony for everyone. Obviously, that's our main topic today, but some people might not know what that means, right? They might not know truly what being and having financial harmony is, because maybe they've never had it. Maybe they've never felt it, right? Maybe they've only heard about it. So define financial harmony for us and what that looks like or can feel like.
Simply, wealth, secured well-being. And if you give your life and money alignment, life and money assignments. So, and what that means is, a lot of people like to conflate wealth and well-being. And so they're like, okay, well, how you living, right? So how you living? What does wealth mean to you? And people, well, I have a wealth of time. I have family, right? I have time at the vacation. I have my children. I have good health. Health is wealth, and all that. No. So you're talking about well-being, right? So there is a difference, and there's folks that follow the Schwab studies, and you have all these articles, and they ask you about happiness, right? And about holistic wealth and, or just what wealth is. All right. Those are two distinct wealth. That's why when we talk about financial harmony, it's wealth secured well-being. How are you using your dollars, wealth, and wealth, what it means to you? We'll get to that later. But wealth, what it means to you in dollars, because there's different amounts. I'll get to that right now. My dad talks about, he always talks about, my mom and dad tell me, he said, he says, what wealth means to us will make some other people, he said, to your clients, for, high income clients and stuff like that make them jump off a bridge, because, my mom and dad, hey, they got to pay for a house, pay for a car. They take 1 or 2 trips to visit their kids, right? And, walk up and down the beach or something like that, for some all inclusive trip or something like that, and come on back to the house, and they good, right? That ain't cool for some other people, right? So it's wealth for what you mean to what you mean to that. Well-secured well-being, right? And those well-being domains, that's when we're talking about, time freedom, okay? Your health, your faith aspirations, whatever those value domains are, your quality of life. I have different opinions on what to drive. I got a friend of mine, he likes driving a bucket. I ain't doing that. Right. Right. I like to thrift, but I'm not bum thrifting. I'm fashion thrifting a little bit, but it means different to different, all those well-being domains, right? What does that mean to you? So when you talk about life and money alignment, this is purpose driven, right? Life and money alignment. Then that's information, giving your money assignments. So that's financial harmony. Then we start getting into the financial strategies story. So that's what that means. Wealth secured well-being into the domains that make you feel well.
And I know we practice this way, but I love how you just ended with, then we get into financial strategies. All right. A lot of people with social media and all that, everything is always financial strategy heavy first. And it's like, cool, but you could have the greatest strategy in the world, but if it doesn't align with who you are and what you want out of it, you're just not going to follow that strategy. So I love how you started with all the harmony, wealth, and well-being, then said, then we can get in financial strategies, then we can attach some. Next segment.
Yeah, all day. I was just one real quick, all day, because like you said, because I know you get this too. It's people, they like, Story, Dr. Cherry, when you going to tell me what to do? When we going to get to these complex estate planning, when you going to tell me what to do with my portfolio? When are you going to tell me, how to build all this and all that? Well, if we don't have any information to get to what type of portfolio build, what type of, estate planning, what type of whatever that strategy is, you ain't going to do it. And you're not going to stick to it. And then I can't give you a recommendation that's going to make sense to you. And then you're not going to have that factor. Remember when they did a commercial back in the day, they opened up that Coke or Sprite or whatever the hell that was, and they you ain't going to get that. You ain't going to get that Top Gun. You ain't going to get that love and feeling.
Right. And you have to have that. It's got to be part of it, or else the plan won't work. Let's be real. Right. It is what it is there. Next segment we get into is fun one. It's what society and media are saying that we've pulled out and have been sent to us. And we want to get your thoughts, comments, whatever you want to go with it. But first one, we should just keep spending to keep up.
Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts here. So I'm all for lifestyle creep. Right. But it's intentional and purpose-driven lifestyle creep. I think people are worthy to invest in themselves as far as their quality of life. It's that unintentional, right? That unintentional, that external, having to prove having to prove a lifestyle creep, right? To keep up. That's what's going to be damaging. Right. That's exactly what you were talking about. Spending to keep up, external proof, right? Having to prove that you're somebody, right? That's not going to do anything. Now that internal purpose-driven, intentional, planned for spending that you're worthy for, that life abundance that you plan for, all day long, right? And these are two separate lanes, all right? And so the myth that you have to deprive oneself to be abundant later, maybe in retirement or in life, that's not true. But you have to know those two distinct paths. How are you aligning your money? What is your purpose? What is your intent? What is your mindfulness about your money, right? And if you have a definition and a purpose behind your money, then you're doing it for self. Then you're doing it for family. Then you're doing it for, right? A goal, an aspiration. So it's not for proof; it's for purpose, right? And now you have now you have something you're planned for. And I always say that you have 5 P's in this matter, right? You got to eat your P's. I'm telling my little son, he's like, look, I know you like candy and stuff like that, but you got to eat your P's first, right? And that's purpose, your preferences, your phase of life, right? Who you are as a perfect person, all right? And then you have to have a plan, all right? Then right there, you have prosperity, all right? You can prosper, right? And within that context, then you can almost spend willy-nilly, all right? Because you have all those areas covered, you store it, right? Mm-hmm. And then you don't have to have guilt or shame, and you damn sure don't have to have any explanation, right? Especially not to others, or in justification, as long as your internal household is taken care of. So,
absolutely. When tough times come up, whether that's, inflation's killing us right now, we're seeing a job market where there's not a lot of jobs out there. People are losing their jobs. We've got interest rates just got raised or cut. What do you say when people say, I'm gonna just cut everything, I'm just gonna hoard cash? All right, I'm gonna cut all my expenses, put cash in the freezer, under my pillow. What do you say when you hear that or see that out there?
Right, man. When you just said that, I started itching a little bit. I said, man, what are those things? I said, man, that's the bed bugs right there. That's inflation, right? Because people start putting that stuff in the mattress. And that's that inflation bed bugs biting right there, right? And so that's not a good idea to just hoard. That's the key word that you said, just hoard cash. And that's panic, selling. That's very reactive. Now, I'm not of the camp of saying just stay in the market, right? And just set it and forget it both ways, right? Set it in the mattress and forget it that way and let the bed bugs bite, inflation bed bugs bite. And then just set it in the market, forget it that way, and just ride every up and down like a roller coaster. And also just let the market have at it and just don't do nothing there either, right? Because you can manage if you're working with an advisor, if you're a DIYer, okay, either way, all right? You can manage at the portfolio level according to your goals, but you have to have a proactive strategy as opposed to a reactive strategy. And so what does that mean? You have a cash moat, so you don't have to, when you see the market, because it can do a couple of things. It can have a correction, which is about 10%, a crash, 20% or more, right? Or a slight pullback, 7 to 10%. So you got to know what you're going to do in either one of those positions. And also what you're going to do when, a life moment comes up, right? So that's proactive. And, so that's knowing what you're going to do, not what you have to do in the moment. So if you have a moat a little bit, then you can have a pivot and protection moment that I'm talking about, because you have a cash moat, 6, 9, 12, maybe even 18, depending on your situation, your cash flow, and all that type of stuff, right? So, and then you have cash and an investing strategy, and that way you're not just hoarding cash where you have is 70, 80, 90, 100% of your cash sitting there because of fear or maybe a preconditioned belief about the markets. Two totally different things. And I'll leave you with this, which is, and you know this too, which is, what about those opportunities? Because if there's opportunities out there and the market pulls back, or hey, maybe there's assets to buy, maybe some hard asset, home or something's on sale or something like that, then hey, you can use your cash to pick up some things on sale. A lot of people like to buy everything on sale, other than the markets are investable assets. You buy a whole bunch of stuff on sale, Amazon, all this other stuff. Why don't people like buying stuff on sale in the market?
See, that'd be a great question for Ashley or somebody with the psychology background, because come on, man, why don't we?
Anyway, yeah. So that's my thing.
But you did allude to this a little bit. You said panic. I think panic's a really key word. I want to hone in on this. We panic over politics. We panic over interest rates, over tariffs, over layoffs, over all of these things that I want to call external for this conversation, because they are external factors. They are not obviously internal with us. You had mentioned having a plan, having things in order, knowing where your money's going to work. I loved the cash moat idea, because that visual was great for me. What does all of those and having those in line do for you when panic wants to creep in? Because it happens to all of us, right? We all go through this, like, I'm about to panic, like I'm freak out. What do you say when you do have those things in order, and what does it do for somebody that you've seen from your work?
Yeah, I think, look, I think it just reduces the emotion, right? What was that? Was that Smokey Robinson or something like that? Was that second down emotion? Right, right. All it does is help the emotion. It doesn't take it away, because it's very heightened if without the preparation, right? Because in the moment, it's very justified. And that's another thing. We have to affirm the emotion. So not necessarily, that's what's kind of like second the emotion, right? They affirm the emotion, because it's very real. It's not going anywhere. But then to be beholden to the emotion. And listen, sometimes for those that are, economically or income challenged, then it becomes a challenge because there's a lack of resources, so that's very real. All right. But for those that have the resources or have the capability, right, for those high incomers and all that type of stuff, then you can get prepared. You can get prepared, and then you have the capability to build a moat to reduce, So then you have it in the moment and say, okay, now I can work through. So acknowledge how you feel, admit how you feel, then acknowledge how you feel about it, so you can take action. I got the 6A system that works, but those are the 3 A's. So if you have a process, and it allows you to go through that process, if you have, this plan, you got that cash, and you got a system, and you got a process. So what it does, TLDR, right, it allows you to work through the feeling. It doesn't get rid of it. It allows you to have a process to work through. So now you can take a proactive action rather than a reactive one.
I love that. And the point that should stick for everyone is, it's not getting rid of it, because it's not possible to get rid of it. It is just reducing its ability and emotional toll on you, because you have something set in plan. So I love that. Next segment we get into is your point of view. So this is where we're taking your experience, your practice, things that you are currently doing. I know we've hit upon that already, but this one dives deeper into what you're doing. So for those that don't know, you had something new that you're doing, right? A little bit of a launch, if you will. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, so people are always talking about price points sometimes. Yeah, and whether you have a lot of money or no money, but and I'm not a fan of the traditional AUM model. I'm not a fan of it. Long story short, even with a tiered process, the AUM model grows with the portfolio over time. I like a flat fee model. It's fixed for the most part. Now, if you have, just like any business, you go to Costco or something, or Or I think I got a bill in the mail the other day. I think it was for some service. And over time, a business's increased costs, whether it be 3 years, for I think Zoom or somebody that gave me 4, 5, 6 years. They say, okay, business, our fee, you get the email. Our business haven't changed fees in 6 years. They go up, just because of business. But it didn't grow because the market just went up. Right. All right. So that's a normal business cost increase, not because your portfolio went up. And so that's how the traditional finance has worked for AUM model, right? So I'm a flat fee person. That's for one-on-one advice, and that's for folks that have high income assets and they value working with and collaborating with an advisor, and they need it and they value it, and that's a good match, And so other folks, the DIYers, do-it-yourselfers out there, they're always on, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. They got your YouTube, they on the newsletters, they in Reddit, right? They on Facebook groups and all that type of stuff, right? And there's some good information out there. If they're listening to you story, they listen to us, right? There's a lot of stuff out there. The issue with that, one drawback is first of all, the abundance of it. There's a whole bunch of it. And then number two, who are you getting it from? Number three is there's a lot of survivor's bias in there. It's like the people getting shit on the time. You should do this. You should do that. Well, I did it, right? All this, right? So there's a lot of incomplete information out there. So, and then there's number four, there's the cost, so it's not a good fit either on the cost or the service, because they may not need the one-on-one. So all those points right there. So with that, TLDR is the membership, community, fiduciary. You're getting it from a trusted source, and there's no shame, no judgment. It's not a should thing, right? You get access to a trusted person, right? It's group oriented, right? I guess that's the word for community, and it's a good access point as far as cost is concerned. So the cost is $115 a month. $1,200 a year if you want to pay up front. And then you get all this, right? You get workshops, you get a couple of times a month access to me, right? You get to ask questions, you get community oriented. So if you like those Reddits, you like those forums and things like that, then you get guidance. There's advice one-on-one because you know somebody, but then you get guidance same way you're getting in those other forums, but it's more of guidance, financial education, and community oriented. It's a big thing because of the trust element of it and the fiduciariness of it, and where you're getting it from.
You're getting it from a person. Let's be real. We live in AI, and I know our industry loves to fight back with, is AI going to take over our jobs or not? And it won't. Okay, let's just put it out there. It's not going to, because of the human element. I believe our industry is shifting from this investment AUM, like advice, and just this is what it is, to we're focusing on this human element to help you get through all that noise to develop something for yourself. Whereas before, I believe our industry really just came up with these plans. Oh, this is best for everybody. Well, we didn't really take into fact the human element of it. And I love that you're creating a group, a community, if you will, that allows to have that connection and to get that information. So hopefully they can tune out some of that noise, because some of these things on Reddit, I got kicked off Reddit, folks. Okay. I got kicked off Reddit because I was calling out the bullshit on it. And apparently you can't, call out the bullshit when you're someone who's a CFP. All right. But I realize that there's a lot of this information out there that is just not based upon facts, or even if it is true for somebody, it's not true for you. It's true for them. And that's not cool, right? We got to figure all that. I love that part of what
all that. And then also too the do your own research stuff. Yeah. Oh man, I'm tired of hearing that. And obviously for the DIYers, they thrive themselves on, hey, I went and got the information, but for those that are out there telling folks to cloak, themselves and, oh, I'm gonna tell you this stuff, and it's misinformation, and they kind of know it. And they're like, go do your own research. I'm not that. Oh man, that chaps my hide right there. That's the clean version of that. I want to get some MFs in there, but I'm gonna say chaps my hide.
There you go. What are when we're talking about planning, especially like in a down cycle or in this market, what are some things that you speak to people about, right? I know we've talked about getting your mindset, getting your goals and stuff in order, but is there anything when you're going through their planning, when we are in a down cycle, that you either recommend or talk to them more about in detail? Because there's a lot, everybody listen, there's a lot to do in financial planning. We got a lot of conversations to have, but certain times dictate when we should be speaking about certain things. So when it's a down cycle like right now, what are your conversations talking about? And people, I don't mean down cycle in terms of the market. We know it's hitting all-time highs. So is gold, so is Bitcoin and all them. I'm talking about in the public's eye. We have high inflation, groceries are getting more expensive, jobs are being less. That's what I mean by down cycle. So those conversations you have, what do you talk about? What do you lead with?
I ask a question. How do you feel right now? What just like you asked me. I asked them. How do you feel in your household? What's top of mind? What's the conversation going on? What's bringing you? Now I don't ask all these right now, but it's a variation of it, right? What's bringing you? Is anything bringing you worry right now in the economy, socially, in your household? The feeling wise, talk to me, right? And then I pause. I know pauses are not good on podcasts or anything like that, but pauses are very important when you ask a question and you let people sit with it. Tone is very important. Now, we've been talking on the podcast today, and, we've had a couple of rah-rah moments. We've had a couple of serious moments, and all because the emotion fits it. When you're speaking with people, and with people, Story, not to. You're not talking to. You're speaking with. You chopping it up, right? Then the tone is different, and you're expressing willingly and compassionately, and not no fake stuff. And when somebody said, "Man, holla at me," right? Then you know what a fake holla at me and a holla at me is. Somebody talking about holla at me, you know that that person ain't trying to get at you, right? And so when somebody asks you, what are you talking about in your household? What's bringing you anything bringing you worried economically, money wise, family wise, socially? What are you thinking about right now? And you pause, and then somebody's gonna be like, that mom, whatever, right? Because when you get that, they come in, and when they hit that octave story, they what they're saying is, I'm glad you asked.
Right.
Then, that's the conversation, and then that's going to inform. They've been talking about at the job that it depends on what career they're in or something like that, right? There may be a buyout or something like that, and we've been talking about that as a family, or we got a child on the way, or this child went to college. We've been dealing with the empty nester type of thing, blah 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 blah, whatever that may be. You see, but you open the door, and the way you do it, how you do it, and opening that door, and then listening and affirming that is the way to go.
It absolutely is. To me, it gives them the opportunity and the okay to calm that chaos down and actually spit it out, right? We all have a lot of chaos going in our brains. There's a lot of things going up on there. And when you do that pause, it gives them time for that chaos to kind of slow down enough for them to, oh, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what's going on. And I just don't think we have enough of that in the world, right? We truly don't. There's too much going on. And for you and us to sit down and just pause and let it happen, that's when the clarity happens. That's when action happens. That's when things start to move. But definitely appreciate your thoughts on that. All right. As we get to the end of this, action steps. So we're going to have 2 of them. All right. I want to tell people what not to do today, and I want to tell people what to do right now today. All right. So,
all right.
What should people not do in terms of reacting to the headlines that pop up every other hour for us? But what should they not do when they see the headlines out there in the news?
Immediately react. You have a feeling. Yes. Acknowledge that feeling, but don't immediately react. I do read it, have a feeling of it, but pause and pray. Pause and pray. And if faith is your thing, but if faith is not your thing, at least pause. So it's pause, pray, and process. Those are the 3 P's. And if you're not somebody of faith, then pause and process. So it's either 3 or 2. Either way. So I'm a faith person, so there's 3. But that is the thing. Don't react unless you've done 3 or 2 of them P's.
I like that. Okay. Let me ask it this way. And if you have it, what is a self-check exercise people can do right now from listening to you with what you're about to say that can start to get them to align themselves with their money and their values and things that they want to do? So what is that self-check exercise people can do?
Yes. The mirror is an expensive audit, expensive tax, or a healthy audit. The mirror is an expensive tax or a healthy audit. Get in there. It takes courage. So I call it the honest self-audit. We discussed it a little earlier today, which is admit where you are, acknowledge how you feel about where you are. And that way you can take action. It is a process. It takes courage. You have to be honest with yourself and process that. What are you doing that you don't want to do anymore? And what do you want to do? It's an aspirational process. And that defines that life and money alignment, give you money assignment. But that will kick off, where you are now and where you need to go. And that's in any life phase. And it's not soft stuff, because right now, if you say, man, I get people in Gen X right now, high incomes, all this. They're like, they tell me all the time, I don't know. I'm making plenty of money. I don't know where it's going. Okay, then you've admitted that. It takes courage. All right. You've done that. Appreciate that. Now, how do you feel about that? What feelings does it bring to you? Right. It's not feeling good to you right now. That's why we talking. All right. Now let's take some action about that. What do you want to do? What do you aspire to do? Let's do that thing. Right. So the mirror, expensive tax or a healthy audit, honest self-audit.
And it's intimidating. We know it's tough. It's not easy to go through. Start with maybe literally in the mirror and just talk to yourself for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Start somewhere today with that conversation. It doesn't have to be the full, hey, let's go get all our tax returns and bank statements and do all of that. It literally just is you looking at yourself and having a conversation with that. So, hey, I appreciate you wholeheartedly, brother. And everybody out there, we're going to have all his links to his book, to his community, all those things around there. All we ask is engage with us. Go to his platform. His lives are coming back on YouTube. Go back and do all of those things and engage with us, because the more you engage with us, 1, the more we can help you, the more we're going to help other people. And 3, ultimately, that's how we create a bigger community. Outside both our spheres and outside of yours, communication and engagement are the way to go. Can't wait to see you next time. But hey, I appreciate you coming on. And again, everyone, check out all his stuff.
Thank you, Story. Appreciate you, man.
The preceding program was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions and securities, or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.